Now, in part 5 of this lecture and talk, I highlight organizational examples. We have already seen many of these examples, but I would try and illustrate a bit more of it, or there might be some overlapping points that comes out. Next, please. So one of the most prominent examples that we are seeing is actually the cooperatives, because they have the Cooperative Act, they have the Cooperative Commission, which is an independent commission set up under the Parliament Act. And they have a very strong national cooperative policy, and there is a large membership base. And the British Council study highlights that more than 78% of this have social economy or social enterprise features to it. So this I see has the highest potential and requires far greater support from the government and in the development areas to provide greater features. And some of the key SSE features that we observe from the cooperatives is its economic viability, that while it's a collective, it's set up to ensure the savings mobilized has economic returns, maybe higher than fixed deposit, but that the collective business venture is not just a social project or a giveaway, but it will generate income in a responsible and sustainable way. The second feature is its social responsibility. It's important to recognize cooperatives have a strong collective dimension, social responsibility. There might be an element of voluntary support or collective action in that process. So that's quite key. There is collective decision making, because that is linked to accountability. There is this cooperative values and concepts, so that if that is strengthened, then you're not going to have the abuses that's been seen, or a more traditional conservative approach to the cooperative movement. But the features are very strong. Next, please. Now, this photo was taken some time ago in 2020, when Datuk Wan Junaidi was the cooperative minister as well as for entrepreneurship. And in the conversation with him and in the studies that were highlighted, the key features of the cooperative movement: visionary leadership, managerial competency, understanding cooperative concept, building trust. These become key success indicators to the cooperative movement. And if that capacity was built, then we will see very strong features in that context. Next, please. Now, this is a FELDA, or the Federal Land Development Authority Cooperative. It was set up in 1957 with about 400 settlers in the first settlement, but it moved on to 317 settlements with over 112,000 families, over 500 hectares. It's a statutory body, but FELDA, not just land, but also development, economy, education, housing. The statutory body, which is set up by an act of parliament, fostered cooperatives to be set up. So FELDA settlers formed themselves into 212 cooperatives, and their collective savings and investment is quite significant, to a point of 2.3 billion ringgit that was last documented in their annual report. So in the conversations with them, we see tremendous potential and the impact by the volume of numbers. Next, please. Now, this is similar in the Amanah Ikhtiar Malaysia, Gramin Malaysia example, because the self-help movement of individual women in collective five small groups of borrowers, then move on into form a center. They formed a cooperative that comprises of 380,000 women. And this cooperative and, the Amanah Ikhtiar itself has over 2,400 staff. But the cooperative movement actually started with their savings of 17 million from their reports. Now has risen to over 500 million. So the individual micro borrower is collectively pooling the resources for bigger impact. So Coop Sahabat, or friendly cooperative, is exploring collective niche products by its members for sale and marketing. Next, please. Likewise, the pawn shops, there are over 259 conventional pawn shops in Malaysia operating under license from the Ministry of Housing and Local Government. But there is also over 329 Islamic pawn shops registered in different legal under the ones, but a majority of them are registered under the Cooperative Act, because the Cooperative Act provided a special provision for the setting up of Islamic based cooperatives, so that the service users who are Muslims majority, but there are also many others, I'm told from the reports, that there is a sizable number of non-Muslims who participate because of access to interest-free and low-cost short-term cash advances through the collateral of gold that they place there. So this is quite significant, and there is a potential. Next, please. Now, the example of the social enterprise movement, which was first set up under MAGIC, and it brings out this impact of economic wealth creation as well as social and environmental. Initial matching grant of 10 million was given. The three criteria for a business: it must have a social mission, it must have a business model, it must target the bottom 40, and they developed a 3-tier accreditation process. And the final one provides tax exemption, and in the first case, you can access to micro loans, and at higher levels, you can access to higher business loans or support from the state to enlarge or scale up the business. But the numbers are small, and that's why the emphasis in the new policy is to enlarge this to over 5,000 operators under the scheme. Next. Masala on Wheels, which is a food catering business that started in a van, now runs its own restaurant. It works with underprivileged people who are cooks or working in the restaurant, but it's moved on, especially during the COVID period, to prepare and provide over 16,000 food packets, which were sponsored through digital marketing and crowdfunding system, which then made the restaurant operative during the cooperative period. Now, so these are examples in general, but I'm going to go in part 6 to a very specific example that is community-based forestry, which is quite important and significant.